those shows.
So Davey's not in Vegas. I don't, and he wasn't at Volusia.
No.
When he's not at the track, is he in communication with you guys? Do you talk? Is he helping out from home? Or even when he's not at the track here, how does that dynamic work with you guys?
Davey is so into it, but because, you have to get on some type of an iPad computer, something, on your TV, and he can't do that. He has to go to his daughter's house. So he tells me before Volusia, right? I bought my daughter a brand new big screen TV so I could see the car better, right? This is how much Davey's into it. Davey lives for racing. And yes, he offers me, way too busy during the night, not unless it's an emergency. I do not call Davey during the night. Every now and then his daughter will text Cassidy and say, hey, Dad said this about the car or whatever we're sitting here watching. But normally I won't. And at Volusia, I think the only day I did call him was the last night before that. And I'm really mad that I screwed that last night up with that motor thing, because the changes I made to the car for the last night, I really pounded my head on that, and I thought I was going to come up with something, but we'll never know that. But no, Davey is there if I need him. I really haven't, from Vegas to when we got there, I left him know what the air was, just because we had burnt motors down and I was really nervous about it. So he said, no, you should be super safe. We're fine. I did not, we talked setups before we went, but after we're there's too much going on. They run these shows through so quick. And without Davey there, now I'm doing the stuff I normally do and the stuff that he does. I just really don't have time, but Davey is into it. I probably don't use him enough when we're away. I am so nervous and scared to death until we run warm-ups. After the car runs a lap, and if we're at least semi in the ballpark, I can relax then and feel okay. And we have been doing that. But, if we unload and we're out to lunch at tracks we're not at, I'm going to be in serious trouble and I'll be a total wreck.
I know you're nervous in the pit area. I see it. It's nervous energy. But you seem like you're having more fun now. Is that the case? Your team, I talked to obviously Calvin Knapp, but you guys just seem like you're having such a good time now at this point in this journey that you're taking as an owner.
It's naturally fun when you're running good. It's not fun when it costs you money and you're not running good. No one likes that. No one gets along as good as they do when you're running good and winning. It is fun because, especially just like it's fun for Davey now, when you're closer to your last race, and that's how it is for us as owning a team and everything. As costs keep escalating, I'm so lucky to have people that are backing us enough that we can still keep running for now. But the day's going to come when we can't. I really am working hard, and the whole team is, to try and take advantage of the C-Bell being in the car. Darren, before he retires or someone else rings him, and I do know he wanted to run Knoxville this year, and I couldn't make that happen. So I do know he is going to be running, another car there. And, but, he did want to run our car, and I couldn't make it happen for him. But while we still have Darren and now, Ryan, I'm excited about running locally with him. So we are very upbeat. We are having fun. It is a exciting time for our team. And I just hope it keeps going.
Is Darren going to be in the car for all the World of Outlaws events at the Grove?
He is. Right now, that's what he's, let's just say, locked in for at this point. I told him if he sees anything else, we were originally, so the One Silent sponsor has family in the state of Washington. We were going to go out there to Skagit because he wanted to go, and he was, going to get the car and stuff out there for us. And that was around in June, around maybe when the Huset's big race is. I think it was
the Dirt
same
Cup.
week. It was paying 60 some thousand to win. So we were kicking around, and Darren said he would love to go out there and drive the car. And this was before the C-Bell thing came up. But once, naturally, it costs money to go to Volusia and go to Vegas. We had to bow out of, towing that car all the way to the West Coast. So we're probably not going to do that. C-Bell likes Eldora. I don't know if he's going to be able to run it. I mean, if he can, I know he could only run the shows during the week and not the final show. Sure. So that kind of rules Knoxville out, so I don't know what's on the horizon. There's a lot of possibilities, probably more at home than away from home, but hopefully something happens that we can still, run some of the away shows.
Well, whatever you do, people like when your car shows up. That's for sure. And right now, getting a lot of, I'd say a lot of chatter about your team, maybe even more than ever. And I think it's because of the drivers. I think obviously it's the way you guys are performing. What's it like working with Christopher Bell?
It is like, and this is not a knock or a negative on him, he is so happy to be back at the sprint car races. He is like a little kid. Except for the point of naturally his driving ability. You can just tell, and not that Darren's not a professional or Ryan Smith isn't a professional, but that he's so used to dealing with the cup car and everything that you have to do. He is just beyond professional. Everything is yes, sir, no, sir, and he is just, it's hard to wipe the smile off his face. I know he wishes he could run 60 races this year instead of just a couple that we're probably going to end up running. But I think he's having a ball. He's really showing it. We text back and forth all the time, especially whenever there's racing on, or he's like, boy, I wish we were there at this track or whatever, so it's really going good. I guess apparently maybe there's some way with all these drivers. I know Darren, I learned some stuff from him last year at Knoxville because we hadn't been any good at Knoxville before. And Darren helped me out there with the car. And I think having all these different drivers, it gives you a perspective, and it's probably part of why we're having a little bit more success. It's hard not to learn something from a driver that's in the car, especially since I drove already. It's really easy to have a good rapport with the drivers more. I still don't see how, a Davey Brown or a Ricky Warner, how they can possibly be as good as they are without ever driving a car. For me, I would be terrible if I would have never drove the car. It's easier. It's not easy, but it's easier because I know if we change this bar, this is how the car is going to feel. I basically don't even have to ask the driver. I know this is what it's going to do. So that makes it a lot easier, but everyone is having fun. And we hope it continues.
Well, Donnie, I appreciate you reaching out and being able to get you on the show again. Obviously, I don't want to keep you all day. I could. It'd be great. I mean, you have a lot of insight. But again, I appreciate you being on the deep dive again and reaching out, and we were able to get it done today.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I did reach out just so the fans and everyone knows to Jeremy, because he's the guy when you want to get news out there, and he has the program for that. And I just wanted to I'm not smarter than anyone else. I don't want to say I want to educate everyone, but really the fans, all the track officials at tracks across the country, to let them know that something is changing in this. So thanks again for having me on, and I really appreciate it.
Look, if you can get officials and promoters and everybody of the like to start thinking differently, that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Kind of, makes the sport better. So
yes.
I think that's a positive. Donnie, again, thank you very much. Hopefully, when's the next race?
Cassidy is running Saturday at Port, which I'm sad to say. I don't know if there's going to be any racing this weekend. I hate to even throw that out there to the fans, but the weather does look absolutely terrible. And then the following week, with all the racing around, we only have one car together. So I'm now on our off week, kind of trying to get a second car together that we want to get out with Ryan next week. And we'll probably just look at the weather to see if we just do Port, or if we do the Grove and Port, or if we just do the Grove with him. I don't know. I didn't even talk to him about it yet. And I'm only just starting on the car at night, so I don't know if it's going to be done or not, but I would think we're going to at least be at Port on Saturday, the following Saturday.
Don't ask Cassidy. Seems like she's costing you money by going to all these races. She wants to go everywhere, it seems like.
She does. And it's amazing, because at the same time she wants to run, and if we go away, she definitely don't get to run. But yes, she's having a ball too, and everyone's having a lot of fun, and it's really cool right now at this time for us.
Well, Donnie, again, thank you very much, and we look forward to possibly seeing you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks
right.
Again.
Take care. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of SprintCarUnlimited.com Live. I appreciate everybody joining the show. We'll get to your calls and, of course, any questions you have in the chat momentarily. Before we get into that, like we do every week, we're just going to hit on some storylines from last weekend and really over the last week. Wasn't much of a racing weekend, considering everything pretty much got clipped across the country. Lincoln Speedway, I think, is the only track that got in, whether it's 410, 360, whatever, unless I missed something on the West Coast. And Anthony Macri grabbed the headlines, not only because they got the race in and got it done quickly. If you want to talk about that, I definitely will. But he stormed from 9th to the win. Dallas Schott tried a bonsai slider on him after giving up the lead to Macri. Kind of got crossed up. Coming out of turn 2, got sideways. Macri had nowhere to go, and Schott went flipping, and Macri was able to continue and went on to score the win. It was his second win overall this year, and I have to wonder, is this kind of right the ship? He was fast in warm-ups at the Grove. He was fastest in warm-ups at Lincoln, and it was by a large margin. That is what we're used to seeing from Anthony Macri, and, of course, getting the win Saturday night. He now has 2 wins on the season. So we'll see if he can continue that trend this weekend in central Pennsylvania, weather permitting, of course. Roughly a week ago, Jacob Allen kind of shocked the sprint car world by retiring from driving duties at Shark Racing. This is a move that really didn't surprise me, because I never really looked at Jacob Allen as a lifer. Like, I didn't expect him to be driving into his 40s. It's just not who he is. He's kind of a free spirit, kind of walks to the beat of his own drum. I like that. And he has interests outside of racing, probably the most important of which is family. So I think it said on his Facebook post that he wanted to, focus on his family, and that he wasn't getting out of racing. He was going to be with a team. I expect him in a crew chief / car chief role, helping Bobby. And this car to continue the same schedule that was supposed to be in place when Jacob was in the car. So I wasn't surprised at all about it. I think probably maybe what I was taken back a little bit by was that he did it now and not, say, next offseason. But we can talk about that as well. Kind of to piggyback that, I know nothing's been officially released, but probably the worst kept secret in all of sprint car racing is Kale Thomas will be in the car. Sorry if I'm stealing somebody's thunder. Justin Fiedler said it already. I've been kind of waiting to release it, waiting for them to put something on Facebook. And at this point, I think everybody knows it. So Kale Thomas gets his best opportunity to date in a sprint car. He got the job over Zeb Wise. Both drivers were talked to. I have talked to Zeb. Kale Thomas got the nod. The interesting part about this is Kale Thomas was supposed to run the Demian Rudzik number 49X. He has vacated that ride. He got a call while in Arizona and took the 1A for the season. And as I said earlier, they're going to run sort of the same schedule that Jacob had in place. And it's going to depend on weather and all those other things, but it's going to be pretty intense. And we're going to see what Kale Thomas has. He had a good year last year in the Jay Kaiser machine. That deal ended at the end of last year. It was supposed to, no hard feelings or anything, but he's in the Shark racing car. So we'll see how he does. The last thing, and it came down today, but it's something again that I knew over the weekend. I'm almost disappointed in myself. I got to take some criticism from this. I was going to call Eric Prutzman over the weekend, Sunday, Monday, and I just didn't get around to it, or probably would have had some breaking news. That's on me. I apologize to subscribers alike. But renowned crew chief Eric Prutzman will be wrenching for the Sandy Klein owned number 22, which is being driven by Doug Hammaker. Doug Hammaker is a former 358 driver, probably one of the best guys in the division, easily one of the best guys in the division, excuse me. And now he's moving up full-time into the 410 ranks. He's run 410s before, but just not full-time for an entire season. So it'll be interesting for him to have a 5-time World of Outlaws championship crew chief, as well as a high limit title as crew chief. So we'll see. Eric Prutzman, it's going to be about a 3 to 4 week deal. I don't know if it goes past that or if Eric goes somewhere else. That's yet to be determined. But we'll see what if that learning gap, that learning curve can be closed up with Eric Prutzman in camp. All right, now we're going to go to your calls or the chat. What do we got? All right, watching from Bonita Springs, Florida. I've been around racing for 44 years, and your 90 at 9 yesterday was right on. I'd pay to see a quality show in a timely manner long before one where you sit 6 hours. This is a no-brainer to me. I know I had a comment yesterday who said fans don't determine whether they're going to a track based on the time it's going to take for the show to get done. Yes, they do. I've talked to plenty of fans about this, and it's something that's attention spans are waning. People got stuff to do. People want to jam more things into a day, and sitting at a racetrack until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning without any rain isn't something that they desire anymore. It's again, it's a fast food society. We want our entertainment quick. We want it good, and we want our money's worth. And a quick show is a good way to start. I've never heard a fan walk out of a racetrack, or a driver for that matter, going, boy, I wasn't here long enough. Or, this show was too quick. I'm going to get home too early. I've never heard it. So I'll let it go there. What else do we got? Devin from the SCU email box. As a Midwest sprint car fan, we don't have 358 classes like PA seems to. We have 360s. Yep, they're big there. My question is, why does PA have the 358s instead of 360s? They actually have 360s. It's United Racing Club. We just kind of make up divisions and have probably more divisions than anyone else in the country. Not a big fan of that. 358 started in the early 90s. It was just a different division. It was a more affordable division. It was a feeder division. There were a lot of different reasons for it being done. And, why they chose a 358, I'm not sure, but they did. And it's kind of morphed in all these years. It's changed. It's been tweaked. to what it really is. We've had guys move up in stretches like a Doug Ash, Corey Haas, guys like that. Doug Hamaker now. And then other times we haven't had people move up and it's been more of a destination. So we'll see. It kind of is like an ebb and flow, but 358s, Lincoln Speedway runs them as their second division. The Grove runs them as a second division. They show up at BAPS. And they've been around since like 1990, 1991. It was, at that time, it was called the Cars Series, and it was run by Deval Dressler. So it's been around a long time. All right, what else do we got? Okay, how do you think Kale will do in the 1A car? He times trials well, which is anytime you have a time trial show, that's huge, especially if it's an Outlaws or a high limit event. So that puts yourself in position. I'm not sure if how that's going to go. I like Kale Thomas. He's always shown some speed, hasn't always been able to finish off races for mechanical woes, whatever the case may be. Again, I think he can win some races in Central PA. I think he can be at times formidable in national series events. I think it's going to take some time, obviously, to get acclimated to the team. I think also Jacob getting acclimated to his new role. So as the case is with anything, there's a period of adjustment. There's also the honeymoon phase. A lot of teams go through this. They hook up. They do well. So I could see a few wins for this combination, and we'll see if they can be competitive every night. That's been the key, or that's been kind of missing with the 1A a little bit, is being the
shows.
So Davy's not in Vegas. I don't, and he wasn't at Volusia.
No.
When he's not at the track, is he in communication with you guys? Do you talk? Is he helping out from home? Or even when he's not at the track here, how does that dynamic work with you guys?
Davey is so into it, but because you have to get on some type of a iPad, computer, something, on your TV, and he can't do that. He has to go to his daughter's house. So he tells me before Volusia, right? I bought my daughter a brand new big screen TV so I could see the car better, right? This is how much Davey's into it. Davey lives for racing. And yes, he offers me way too busy during the night, not unless it's an emergency. I do not call Davey during the night. Every now and then his daughter will text Cassidy and say, hey, Dad said this about the car or whatever we're sitting here watching, but normally I won't. And at Volusia, I think the only day I did call him was the last night before that. And I'm really mad that I screwed that last night up with that motor thing, because the changes I made to the car for the last night, I really pounded my head on that, and I thought I was going to come up with something, but we'll never know that. But no, Davey is there if I need him. I really haven't, from Vegas to when we got there, I let him know what the air was, just because we had burnt motors down and I was really nervous about it. So he said, no, you should be super safe. We're fine. I did not, we talked setups before we went, but after we're there, there's too much going on. They run these shows through so quick. And
okay, guys, sorry about that. I had a problem with a port on my computer and the cord going into it, so I got a backup cord. So now we're good to go and everything's working. Again, I apologize for that. To Austin Hogue, donations can be dropped off at Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA. Yes. Prayers to Austin Hogue. He was injured in a go-kart accident at Hunterstown a couple weeks ago. And again, we're wishing the best for him and his family. All right. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. All right. Is Zeb starting to get concerned about his I assume you mean future in 410 sprint car? Look, he knows that at some point somebody's going to get fired. And I mean, it all comes around. I think he was bothered that he didn't get the 1A car. I think it was a ride he wanted. It was a schedule that fit what he's looking for. Obviously, a national type schedule with some national events. So yeah, I think that probably bothered him a little bit. Like I said, I talked to him, and I'm not going to give too much of the conversation away, but it was a ride he really wanted, and he just didn't get it. All right. That's our weekly Zeb Wise question. And who else do we got? Jeremy, any thoughts on Danny Dietrich's comments from the weekend? Yeah, they're up on the screen. After the weekend, he kind of gave a blow-by-blow on Williams Grove and Lincoln. He was very complimentary of, obviously, Lincoln getting a show in. He did talk about fans not showing up, and this is why these tracks canceled because of questionable weather. Williams Grove, he alluded to the fact that they messed around. He feels they did it on purpose so they could, run against Sealands Grove this week, force guys to come back for two features, the regular program and obviously the rained out feature, which was stopped on lap 5. I have a couple things with this. I love fast programs. I think Lincoln did a fabulous job this weekend. I did a 90 at 9 on it. Baps did the same thing the week before with weather threatening. He also said something complimentary about Williams Grove, which the track was better. I was not there, unfortunately. I was at a Washington Capitals game. I took my daughter, so again, I apologize for that. However, I did watch the replay. Did they mess around? Yeah, a little bit. They probably shouldn't have run the 358B main. Probably should have just started them all. Then they read the lineup, did the 8-minute horn, and yeah, but that Williams Grove does that every week. I'm not going to go full conspiracy theory because I don't believe that 10 people or even 5 people were up on up in the booth going, boy, if we can screw everybody, we can really hurt Selinsgrove next week. I'm not going that far. I think that's a stretch. So, Danny voices his opinion. I agree with obviously some things he says, and I don't agree with everything he says. So, but he has that forum. A lot of people listen to him. His fans are really loyal. He's right more than he's wrong. And Danny does a good job promoting himself, promoting his team, and even at times promoting the sport. I don't know how good it is to kind of voice a conspiracy theory, but hey, you take the good with the bad. He's entertaining and people like him. So he's not wrong about screwing around. The Grove sometimes does that. This isn't a new thing that just popped up this week. And, like I said, he said something nice about the track conditions, and how he hopes they continue along those lines. So what's next? Do you think that Danny Dietrich is being too harsh on the Grove, or do you think the Grove really tried to get cars back this week instead of going to Selinsgrove? No, I just said, I don't believe they sat around thinking, hey, this is what we're going to do to screw Selinsgrove. Because if they were going to do that, why start it at all? They could have pulled the plug before the start of that feature. Why would you run it? If your idea was to screw Selinsgrove, why would you even start the feature? Obviously, they were trying to get it in. It didn't work out. Yes, I'm not saying that they couldn't have streamlined it more, but the optics were bad. But I'm telling you, I go there all the time, and I see the same kind of delays between B mains and features all the time. So I don't think it was anything out of the norm. What else do we got? Does feel like Williams Grove has been mismanaged in general for years. Williams Grove is one of the 3 crown jewel tracks in the country, but has fallen way behind Eldora and Knoxville. Thoughts? 2 things can be true at once. Are they behind Eldora and Knoxville? Yeah, but Eldora is owned by Tony Stewart, and Knoxville's a fairgrounds. So, and has the Nationals. And Eldora has the Kings Royal, the World 100, all these races that you get 22,000 people there. So I think comparing Williams Grove to those 2 tracks really isn't a fair comparison. The other thing is, I also think Williams Grove is probably the most criticized track in the country, and I don't always agree with it. I just don't. I think sometimes they're unfairly criticized. And but that comes with being Williams Grove. I mean, the higher the standard, the higher your standing in any sport or whatever, the more you're going to be criticized, or you're going to be under the microscope. So I think they're unfairly criticized at times. I think sometimes, yes, they are criticized fairly. And I think if you weren't Williams Grove, it's catch-22. It's good to be considered one of the 3 crown jewel tracks, but then on the flip side, you're going to take harsh criticism sometimes. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. That's it. What's next? Any news on when the 1A will release their official press release on their new driver? No. I've been waiting, though, patiently. I think it's going to probably just be a Facebook post by Jacob, if I had to guess. I have asked if I can release my Q&A with Kale Thomas. And look, it's the game we play. So next, Jeremy, any thoughts on the All-Star decision to prevent their drivers from running the fast show on Sunday? I've been thinking about this one all day, so you might see it in a 90 at 9. Just saying. The Outlaws do it. They give 4 races. They're protecting their brand. They're protecting the tracks they go to. The All-Stars and Fast, Could it get ugly? Yeah, but I'm kind of mixed emotions on it. On one side, I'm like, yeah, the All-Stars are protecting their brand. On the other side is the All-Stars aren't the Outlaws. It's a regional series, and it's a series that has 30 races. You're not giving your drivers enough races to where they can't or they shouldn't, where they wouldn't want to run a fast race, I should say. If it was 50 races, I'd probably be like, you know what? That's fine. But 30, you count rainouts. Let's say they get 5 rainouts throughout the year. With the way the weather's gone, that's not out of the realm of possibility. So you're asking guys to stay loyal, not go someplace else for 25 races. That's where they kind of lose me on it, but I understand both sides. So the All-Stars banning drivers from races already. Let's face it, they're not the Outlaws or even High Limit. You don't think these drivers are pissed that they can't make money an hour away? Yeah, I've answered that. Like I said, I understand it. Again, I think the All-Stars would have a little better standing if there had more races. I mean, like I said, depending on how the weather goes, could only be 22 races this year. And then at that point, guys, you got to kind of let guys do more. So, but again, I understand it, protecting their brand. Any prediction on the All-Star opener at Attica this weekend? Cap Henry. I think Cap Henry, Spitheller's pretty good there. I don't know everyone who's going to show up, but if it's just the Ohio guys and no invaders like even Bernie's car, like say, Parker Price shows up there, because Parker Price is a guy you're going to have to watch if he goes. I'm going to go Cap Henry or a Spitheller or somebody like that. All right. What else do we got? Someone stated that they are paying $72,000 for a 410 motor. Is this accurate statement on the price? I saw. Yes. In fact, it's more. There is no, it's more. I've heard of guys paying more. So 72,000 is probably the norm now till it's all said and done. So rising prices. All right, Jeremy, I like this morning's 90 at 9. Kind of related question. Stephen Wolfgang had some 50-win seasons. In today's environment, what would a comparable win total be? 30? Probably. And I don't know if somebody gets to 30. I mean, whether we have bigger races now too. Keep that in mind. I think people forget about that. We get, like, you start getting into June, like it goes Huset's, Kings Royal. You have Peevely, you have the Outlaw shows in here in PA, and then you get to Knoxville. You have Skagit. You have so many big shows where the fields are bigger, some of which are going to have High Limit and Outlaws guys there. More difficult to win. Whereas I don't know if the parity wasn't the same when Steve Kinzer and Doug Wolfgang were doing that. However, that's not to diminish what they did. To me, they're Mount Rushmore guys, both of them. Steve Kinzer, after looking at his stats and everything for that 90 at 9, boy, he is the greatest winner in sprint car racing history, and I don't think anybody's going to get near that. I don't know. I don't think if anybody gets within 150 wins of him. It's just ridiculous numbers, and it was just that good. All right. What else do we got? Should Zeb Wise, Jason Myers 14 car so start to be a discussion? By the way, I saw a comment before I get to that. I did see a comment from Loud versus Hunt about $100,000 for a motor. Jason Myers, I heard the same thing. Now, whether that's true or not, I mean, obviously that's not something we're going to talk about, but I did hear that same thing. Should Zeb Wise go to... It's been a slow start for Spencer Baston. I have expected more out of that combination. I still think it's a little early yet. We're 6 races into the high limit season. I think it's way too early at this point to make a move like that. So not yet. I think you got to give a guy time. So, it's April. Okay. It's too early. Okay. What else do we got? Brent Smith. Does it hurt high limit to be off for 3 weeks, but now 4 weeks in April? It doesn't help. Here's the problem with being off. It's great because it's a selling point for the series because their drivers can go race someplace else. They only have roughly 4 guys running Peevely this weekend. Reitzel, Baston, Peck, and Abreu are the 4 guys that I know of who are going to Peevely. Brad Sweet not going to Peevely. I don't think Tyler Courtney's going to Peevely. It's good that they can go other places, but I agree. With the rain out, you're looking at, they don't get back on the track until April 30th. Now they come back at Texas, which that's great. NASCAR weekend, Kyle will be there, so on and so forth. But yeah, I don't like a 3 to 4 week break for a national series. I just think it's too much. It's too much. 2 weeks max. And as I see it, that's around King's Royal time because you're going to go run those high profile events and your guys are still going to be obviously on the radar. So yeah, I agree with you, Brent. I think it's too long. All right. Got another one. Should have another one. With the advanced technology in shocks. Oh boy. Do you think wing sprint cars will be coilover instead of torsion bars in the future? No, we've seen coilover in the past. Then they got away from it. No, I do not think we will transition to all coilover. I don't see that happen. Sammy Swindell ran coilovers. And now the guys winning aren't running over coilovers. So I don't think so. What else do we got? I can't wait till Friday at Sealands Grove. Yeah, I mean, it's the only problem is rain. Of course, weather, in Pennsylvania, it's unpredictable and it doesn't look good. But yeah, I'm anxious to see how the new regime does. I wish them the best. And, we'll see how many cars they get. I think that's the big thing. How much participation do they get? But I don't think we'll see it this week, unfortunately. All right. What else do we got? We got a call. Okay, Daniel, congratulations on the Florida Gator winning the NCAA tournament. I have to eat a little crow. I was talking to Jovan Schultz, and we were talking about NC State and how they came from behind in every game. And I said, I don't see Florida doing that. And he said, well, NC State did it. And I said, percentage-wise, I'll always bet against that. Well, I would have lost my ass. So yeah, Florida looked really good. It was great to watch. By the way, phones are down because of the disconnect, because of the problems I had with my computer. It was on me. I had a cord go bad and it wasn't charging the computer. That's what happened. Now it's fine. I should have checked that beforehand, but we'll have no phone calls tonight because of the disconnect. I was just told that by my producer, but yes, I'm very happy Florida won the national title. All right. What else do we got? I gave up on going to Lincoln in particular with questionable weather. Been there one too many times when they screw around for way too long only to have it canceled or postponed. Yeah, but you know what? The last 2 weeks, they have been warp speed to get done. And the 1 week, there was no chance of rain. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that this is something they're putting an emphasis on because it's happened 2 weeks in a row. One when the weather was fine, and then another week, it was a little chilly, but then another week when the weather was pressing. So I hope it continues. I think every track needs to take a look at it. 3 hours. 3 hours is my number and that's for your main division. Now, if you're running 10 divisions, you're screwed. But again, 3 hours for your main division. If you have 3 divisions, they say actually you should probably have your program close to done. So you picked a great game to go to Friday. Hope it was fun. Outstanding 90 at 9 today, and I can't stand farting around at the track. You're spot on with that. Going to watch, it just played out perfect. We got lucky. My daughter and I picked a game. We tried to gauge when Ovechkin would, tie or break the record, and he scored 2 goals that night and tied it. To me, it was just as good as breaking it because, it's such a gamble which game you pick, and we got lucky. It was a great moment with my daughter. I enjoyed it, and the money to go to the game, I don't mind spending money as long as for a good reason, or I get value out of it, and I would spend that money again. All right. What else do we got? Randy, let's appreciate the tracks we have. Remember, Trailways in Silver Springs. Yeah, I used to go to Silver Springs all the time. And look, back to the Danny thing. I'm okay with everything he said, but I do think sometimes it comes off harsher than it probably needs to. Do I think, depending who the driver is, do I think every driver has that type of pull to affect whether a fan goes there? No. Danny Dietrich in Pennsylvania has very loyal fans. So I wish he would temper it a little bit. I wish he would I'm not saying don't say it. I'm saying just kind of say it in a way that maybe isn't as like a punch in the face. Make it a punch in the stomach, not a punch in the face. All right. What else do we got? If you were to create a system to determine, say, top 100 410 drivers of all time, how would you attempt the challenge? And did you guys have a great time at the game? Yeah, I had an awesome time at the game. And then we went to Hershey Bears game Saturday and Sunday. So it was just a weekend for my daughter. And I apologize to any subscribers for not updating more on the site or not doing stuff on the site. Again, it's just I needed to take time and do that with my daughter. As for top 100, look, I do it like I do my rankings. I look at performance, competition, races you win. So when I say performance, top 5s come into play. Top 10s, not usually. Unless it's local drivers and World of Outlaws events, they get kind of graded different, but they don't face the competition every night. So obviously they're going to be behind them anyway. But I look at top 5s. I look at wins. I look at National Series events, competition, wins, and crown jewels, things like that. I've been asked why I put David Gravel ahead of Brad Sweet right now. Well, I do it because he's winning crown jewels. Brad Sweet hasn't made the Kings Royal the last 2 years. So that's a big one for me. And Gravel wins. Gravel, obviously, time's better. He's the best time trialer in the country. So I would do the top 100 all time the same way. I like my system, and now it takes me forever. The 2 things that take me the most time to do are the top 50. And obviously I didn't do a top 50 this week because I no way I could pull 50 things out. But top 50 in my poll because I do kind of beat my head against the wall on it, probably more than I should. All right, let's get rolling. Did the 23 Michael Millard retire from racing? He didn't announce that, but he is I think it's pretty much done. He's selling a roller, full roller. So I'd say it's pretty much done. It wasn't officially announced, but that's kind of where I think it's leading. Is Tanner Holmes high limit now? And what's happening with the family team? No, he is not high limit. He will be at the NARC race this weekend. He is going to run his family deal in and around the 21 schedule. So when he's not in the 21, he's going to run his family deal. So that's it. All right. In your opinion, which young driver is the best at saving the right rear on long races? Ooh. What do you consider young? I'm going to go early 20s on it, and I would say Buddy Kofoid. Even though Kofoid is on the gas and people like to say he's aggressive, sometimes too aggressive, I'm not going to go that far. I think he's incredibly smart and knows how to race. Plus, he raced on asphalt a couple races. So I think he knows. I just think he is the best all-around young driver right now. And I don't think it's close. So that would include saving a right rear if he had to. Did it at Houston's to win Houston's last year. So, all right. Do sprint car stats need to split? Do something like the old era, 1978, 1994, new era, 95, present. The old stats had winged, non-wing, and asphalt races. It's not fair. Life isn't fair. No. You know what? You start getting into that. I mean, no other sport separates it. Look, it's up to the fans. Here's the other thing. It's something for us to talk about. Why change that? I don't think it needs to. Fact is, I think winged sprint car drivers are the best dirt track drivers in the country as far as an open cockpit car. I just do. When they drop down to non-wing, they win or they run top 5. Buddy Kofoid jumped in a non-wing car down at Bubba and ran top 5 each night. He was leading the Silver Crown race first time he was in it. David Gravel finished second in the first time he was in it. I just think there's no reason to separate it out. The non-wing thing's not even a consideration for me at this point. Maybe that's being elitist, a winged elitist. That's fine. I've never shied away from that. So, no, right now, I don't know. Hey, I just got the okay that I can release something on the website. So I'll have that after the show. Sorry about that, but I just got a text on that. So, all right, what else we got? Hey, Jeremy, when are you going to say if the Chaz and let him gain his own fans? Because I don't want to hear anything that says. Chaz is okay. I talked to Chaz. I admit that I have talked to Chaz. We don't always see eye to eye on everything, but I don't see eye to eye on everything regardless of who it is. So he's okay. He serves a purpose in the sport, no different than me or Justin Fiedler. People are going to like him and not like me. People are going to like me and not him, or Justin, or whatever. So I'm not going to begrudge a guy, obviously he does okay on YouTube. So, and he did a good job with the Tony Stewart interview. Got to give him credit for that. He played it straight. I like that. So I would recommend anybody going and listening to that. All right. PPM ever coming back? Well, he's supposed to run for Guy Forbrook at Knoxville weekly this year. So I think that's a good pairing. I think they can win the title there. Guy Forbrook, one of the best crew chiefs in the country. So I have no doubt that they'll be very competitive at Knoxville, I think, and they'll supplement I think they'll run some races outside of Knoxville if obviously Guy Forbrook's health. But I also believe that you could see him running, say, maybe the Indy Race Parts car when Forbrook's car is sitting. All right. Do you think, or have any ever heard of Eldora upgrading their front stretch seating and concessions? Chaz actually had a great interview with Tony Stewart. Was hoping Eldora upgrades would have came up. He had him on for 3.5 hours. I mean, so there you go. You know what? Eldora, I like Eldora the way it is. I think it's nice. I think they have the best concessions in the country, but in my opinion, I'm sure that they will address things when they need to. I really don't. That's not something that bothered me. FYI, if you're coming to Knoxville, Highway 14 at Monroe is closed. Thank you very much. I will be at Knoxville. May get there before the Nationals. I'm looking at different trips. So we'll see. Let's get through these. Will Ovechkin reach 1,000 goals? You know, it's funny. I was talking with my daughter about that Sunday on the way to the Bears game. He's going to have to play 2.5 years to do it. I think. Depends how his playoffs go. Do they make a deep run in the playoffs? They're really good this year. Could come down to goaltending. Their goaltender's out right now. I think he's going to have to play 2.5 years, though. And I don't know if he's going to do that. And I think if they win the cup, I think he's done. I think he'll retire. So that could be depend on how Washington does this year. On motors costing that much, how many nights do they get out of before refreshing? How many nights they get out of it before refreshing? Depends on the circuit. Depends who it is. An Outlaws team, you're looking at 10 shows, something like that. It moves around 10 to 15. I hear that a lot. Maybe Tyler Swank can chime in on that. I know he's on here sometimes, but I'd say 8 to 12 at this point. I think it depends on the team. And I think if you're dealing with the local team, obviously they're going to stretch it to the limit. So just from a monetary standpoint. Who has been your surprise driver to start this season in Central PA? Chase Dietz. And I know that's going to sound probably a little odd because they're one of the most well-funded teams. I like Chase Dietz a lot, but I didn't expect them to come out and be on the podium every night. I mean, he's run 7 races, I believe, and he's been on the podium each of them. Or no, I think he's run 6. He did not run at Lincoln. So 6 podiums out of the gate with a win. Probably should have won 2 other races. I thought he gave one away at BAPS a little bit. Danny Dietrich did a great job, but I think if Dietz had it to do over again, he'd tuck behind the lap car in 1 and 2. But Chase Dietz, definitely just from a consistency standpoint. Who else do you got? Do you know what went wrong with Hanford Speedway and Peter Murphy as promoter? It's a loaded one. Let's just say there were some personal reasons. I'm not going to get into his personal life, but personal reasons is why Peter Murphy, I don't even think he's in the States at this point. Or at least he wasn't. He's in Australia, or New Zealand or wherever he's from. So personal reasons why he's out of Skagit, and I would assume probably Hanford. Do you know if Lethal Lee will still be helping out the 1A? Interesting question. Don't know that yet. Really, Jacob, and I like Jacob. Jacob is a fantastic guy to talk to. One of the hardest guys to get to interview. It's like trying to get information out of Roth Motorsports and KKR. For me as a journalist, it's the hardest teams to get information from is Roth Motorsports and sometimes Casey Kane Racing and Jacob Allen, believe it or not. But he's great to talk to. I enjoy every conversation I have with him, and I enjoy when he's at a banquet. It's always great. All right. Every sport is trying to streamline the events. Baseball installed the pitch clock. The NFL tweaks the game clock, play clock, and instant replay. Is it soon time to talk about starters? I just don't see them implementing something where you are going to cost teams that much money. I just don't see that happening. I don't think that ever changes in sprint car racing. Here's the thing too. This sport's like 15 years behind real world stuff. So I don't know. Do these people still need help figuring out Steve Kinzer, Donnie Schatz, Doug Wolfgang, and Simon? I don't understand how you can go off those top four. I don't know how you go off those top four. Look, I like Stevie Smith. I like Jan Opperman, Lynn Paxton. There's some guys on the West Coast who were really good. Guys in the Midwest who were really good. But four guys, and it's not just the wins they had. It's not just the crown jewels they had. It's what they meant to the sport. It's a lot like Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Jordan. So to me, they meant the most to the sport. They won the most, and they're the high profile wins. I mean, they had a match race for crying out loud, except minus shots, obviously. Wolfgang Kinzer and Sammy Swindell. I don't see anybody having a match race now. Those three guys meant so much to the sport, and the amount of wins, and, Sammy Swindell's ingenuity, Steve Kinzer's dominance, Doug Wolfgang's, I would say, a thinking man's driver. Like if he was going around a track and hit a hole, he didn't hit it again. Those three guys plus shots are just, to me, slam dunk. Now, you want to shift the order around? Fine. I would put Steve Kinzer number one. I waffle on that all the time because shots did it in an age of parity. But Steve Kinzer, just the stuff he could do with a car, I don't think Donnie could do with a car what Steve Kinzer has done with a car, a bent car, a wrecked car. It's just, I don't know. I just don't. Those four guys are it. I know we got more in the chat. I don't know if we have any more questions. Rich Farmer has commented on the situation. Can we find that? Okay. For clarification, the team's only limit is the day before or the day after within 150 miles. The same rule the series has had for many years. I opened it up to any event that pays at least the same as an all-star event. If the series is off for the weekend, they can race where they want. We do want to support 410 weekly tracks and all-star hosting tracks above others. This is something both tracks and teams are in favor of. There you go. There's the answer. Look, again, I have no problem with that rule. I don't have a problem that the Outlaws do it. I never did. I know people want to get angry but they're not getting angry because they think it's wrong. They're getting angry because they want to see them. There's a difference. Okay. So I get protecting your brand. You have these guys sign a contract. They sign up with your series. I understand there being rules. We have red lights and stop signs. Now people in California stop them, but still, again, there's rules. Follow them or don't run with the series. That's it. You know it going in. All right. What else? I know we have some other stuff. Why did Lincoln Speedway drop flagman? Or do not understand. It's not a safety thing. To me, I think they did it because they don't have to pay a flagman now. I know there's a lot out there about that. They said, everybody's going to be doing this. No, they're not. Tracks are not going to buy a video board for their flagman for a number of reasons. Number one, back to what I said before, the sport's 10, 15 years behind. So they're not going to just all of a sudden jump in and do that. Again, I just think they did it because they save a little money on a flagman. They don't have to find somebody. I know their flagman was leaving at the time. And let's face it, these tracks share employees. There's not a ton of people who want to give up a Saturday night every week and do it for whatever monetary value. So I think people need to keep that in perspective. These tracks, one of the things that I'm hearing is very difficult now, especially in Central PA, is getting people to work, is getting people to fill these positions because you're giving up your weekends. So I think people need to have some perspective on that. Is there any chance Selinsgrove gets on the Pennsylvania Speed Week schedule? I think in time. I don't think it's going to happen this year. Well, it's not going to happen this year. And I think a lot of it depends on how that Path Valley deal goes. If that Path Valley deal goes well and High Limit continues to go to Path Valley, I think you're going to, I think you're going to, it's going to be hard for them to get on the schedule because they're not taking, despite what everybody wants or thinks, they're not taking races away from Lincoln, Port Royal, and Williams Grove. The reason they're on there is in case they lose one. They have a backup. They're not going to do it. So Alan Kreitzer's made that clear, and we'll have to wait and see. I think they can get back on it, but I don't know if it's going to happen in the next year or two. We'll see. Jeremy, will you be at the Sterner race at Lincoln for Fan Appreciation Day? I mean, I should be at Lincoln. I'll be at Port this weekend for the Lynn Paxton race. And then the plan is to be at the Sterner. I'm not 100% sure which Saturday it is, if it's next week or the week after. We'll have to see. If I'm not there, it will because I have a family, my daughter, but it's just working some things out there. So, but other than that, I should be there. All right. How come Donnie Schatz never got a nickname? I'm glad he didn't. I don't know. What do you say about him? I'm not a big nickname guy. I don't know what you would call him. The Prince? If he's second to Steve Kinzer, what do you call him? I think he's just fine not having one. And maybe he has told them, don't make one for me. So I don't know. I don't know why. I'll ask him though. And he's just going to look at me and like I have three heads. So Larson is in favor of starters. Starters work great with the super sportsmen and news sprint cars at Bridgeport. I'm not in favor of starters, but length of time is growing problem with fans. Okay. So I saw this in the chat. I'm actually looking at the chat tonight. Normally I don't, but I'm skittish because the show went off. Is Larson going to pay for all the starters? Probably not. Yeah, it works for a super sportsman, but a super sportsman weighs more than a sprint car. If you put a starter in a sprint car, you're going to have to change a lot of other rules. And one thing sprint car teams don't like is, and it's been happening more over the last 5-6 years, they're sick of the owners. The owners are sick of fitting the bill to fix the sport, whether it be safety, whether it be length of show. Hey, if you want to fix length of show, how about you not have 8 divisions? How about you not have 5 divisions? I don't like that the Grove had 3 divisions for this week. Now they got rid of one. Never should be 3. Don't have those divisions. You want to fix the problem. How about we don't have the work area? We all know how I feel about the work area. 2 minutes turns into 6 minutes real quick in the work area. So there's other things that I think you can do without spending money. And starters isn't it. So that's where I stand on that. All right. Who's the new announcer for All Stars? Because I know Blake Anderson is on the West Coast. That's a good question. I am not sure. I am not. I don't know who that is. I would assume it'd probably be somebody from Fremont. Maybe Liskai. Could be. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. Why do you think sprint cars are not bigger in New York? Thank you for the content as a newer sprint car fan. It's modified country. The Empire Super Sprints, ESS, is a 360 division up there. I just think it's modified country. It's a different area. I mean, I could go back to, I don't know how many years, and it's just what the area is. It's like down here. It's 410 sprint car country in central Pennsylvania. It's the biggest 410 sprint car area in the country, and really nothing else works as a headline division. in central Pennsylvania. Even USAC comes through here. It's difficult to sell. New York has the ESS and CRSA. Yes, thank you, Jim Gifford. CRSA is also up there. Yeah, they do put on a good show on the Slick. There's Slick, then there's Ohio Slick, and then there's New York Slick. New York Slick being the most extreme. So until you get on New York Slick, you'll be happy for Ohio Slick. So, yeah, no, they have those 2 series up there. They do put on a good show. I've watched a few of them. All right. Toyota engine program ever gain ground? Yeah, I mean, they had a better start than the Ford. Like the Ford wanted components you could basically buy out of a catalog. Toyota has kind of done it a different way, and it was just a little easier for them, I think is a good way to say it. They're using different blocks. So I think you'll see more of them. I do not know how much they'll cost, but I do know they want to sell them at some point. I don't know if they're on the market yet. I did hear about Buddy Kofoid having a quote unquote regular Toyota motor that the public can get in the car. So I don't think they're far away. I don't know if you can buy them just yet. I know Speedway and Ryder are the ones who do Toyotas. Please give some examples of what you'd suggest to cut down the time of show besides limiting to 2 classes, which most PA tracks do, and the work area. Well, now you want me to add more? Okay. Look, start on time. Start on time. If I go to a baseball game and it says 7:05, it starts at 7:05. Don't start at 7:10. Don't start at 7:15 or 7:20, because 15 minutes at the beginning of the night is always 45 minutes at the end of the night. I don't know why. It just always happens that way. So I think that's one thing. I think, look, for an outlaw show, now they do a pretty good job. I guess the dash draw, I guess people like it. But like David Gravel, for instance, he makes 150 dashes a year. Do I need him to say the same thing that he said 3 dashes earlier? But I guess it's part of the show. I just think there's got to be a sense of urgency. I think you got to have push trucks. I think you got to have tow vehicles. You having everything in place, being prepared. I think lining up your heat races to where they come out in the track and don't have to take all these pace laps. It's just a lot of wasted time. And yeah, the work area, and yeah, limit the classes. So you throw that all together, I think you'd save time. Love the show, Jeremy. Nicest driver across both series. Oh, there's a lot of them. Thank you for the compliment. Rico Aber's a really nice guy. Even when he doesn't like at Vegas, it stuck out to me. He ran out of fuel, didn't have a good night, and he was still smiling afterwards. And Rico's a nice guy. There's a lot of nice guys in the pit area. Rico Abreu, it's gonna be tough to find a guy who's nicer than Rico. He stands there forever with his fans, and just if you talk to him, he's always willing to talk. You're spot on about New York Slick. It's like polished cement. Yeah, it is. It's when the Outlaws go up there, it's funny to watch. Why did East Bay close for the company behind him? I think bought him. I don't know if it was a landfill or some kind of sanitation company or something purchased East Bay, if I'm not mistaken. The All-Star Circuit of Champions announcer is Alex Robinson. I believe he did some announcing at Bridgeport. Okay. All right. Good deal. Thank you very much for bringing that up. USAC National Series is the best sprint car series that comes through PA. I said what I said. Sorry, people don't pay attention or care. It's facts. Well, based on what? I mean, I don't think they have the star. There's a reason their guys are leaving. Yeah, you can say it's the best racing. Well, okay. And this is no slight against non-wing racing. They're slower. Well, if we're going to go by that and side-by-side racing, street stock racing is better than any of them. Not wrong. Just nobody likes watching them. So I think a lot of things go into quote-unquote best series. I mean, butts in the seats, pretty important. And when the Outlaws come through and High Limit comes through, the seats are full. When USAC does, look, I'm not saying I don't like USAC. I do like USAC. I watch them at Eldora. I've been out for Let's Race 2. I go to some Eastern Storm races. Grandview, Big Diamond. I think Big Diamond's underrated for sprint cars in general. But, I mean, look, I'm not getting as jazzed up about it as an Outlaws show. And I think you're saying they're different cars when you take a wing off them, front and top. And if you're just going to say side-by-side racing, I can show you a street stock race where it's side-by-side for 20 laps every night. Doesn't matter what the track is. So, I mean, it's okay to be a non-wing guy. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just my personal preference. I will always take wing cars. Probably because that's what I see all the time. Ken Joseph, makes no sense to me why teams are so quick to change a right rear flat, burn another tire up, put extra laps on the engine, just drive around in the back. Yeah, I mean, look, the world of Outlaws, I get a lot of money on the line. High Limit, obviously the franchise system and what they're getting paid. Different story. At a track around here, 0.0 cents. It's $5,000 to win the track championship at Lincoln, $5,000 at Port Royal. Williams Grove is $18,000, but again, only 3 guys who run every race. Only 3 or 4 guys have a shot at that, if that. It's probably less. So there you go. I don't understand it either. I would not roll out again if I blew a tire. All right, Tanner Holmes interview. It just hasn't happened yet. I need to get a hold of him. I apologize for that. He was traveling. Then last week, I bumped him. I'm sorry. I didn't call him up. I had somebody else in mind for the show. Maybe tomorrow, because the podcast will be out tomorrow. I try and get it up every Wednesday on the website. And Tanner Holmes, you know what? In fact, I'll call him when I get off the stream here. All right. What else do we got? Port Royal won't be the same without the mayor. Hope he finds something regular. Yeah, it's difficult. He says it's difficult finding a motor. That's what he's having trouble with right now. That if he had a motor, he'd be out there. I could see him running more races in the Indy Race Parts machine. They seem to get along, seem to go well. I mean, Parker Price Miller, obviously he's going to run some shows with Guy Forbrook. So I could see Dylan Cisney maybe being in that car a little more. And maybe he can turn some heads and get a ride. We'll see. Do you know anything about old track around Seven Valleys, maybe called Bowling Green Speed? I do not. That might be a little before my time. 53, and I started going to races in 77. I recognize the name, but I do not know anything about Bowling Green Speedway. Bowling Green Speedway was located in Seven Valleys, Pennsylvania, and operated from late 1953 through 56. It was built by local farmer and stock car. Yeah, that's why I don't know. I wasn't even thought of in 1956. So, yeah, no, apologize for that. Jim Gifford, when will Jovan be on? Seriously, any clue on Zeb Wise yet? You never know when Joe's going to make an appearance. He's in the chat. Now you guys can figure out what his name is. It's not Jovan Schrilt. So I'll let you guys figure that out. I'm not going to blow his cover. I wish he'd use his other name. He has 2 names. neither of them are Jovan Schultz. I wish he'd use the second one just because I think it's cool. But Zeb Wise, nothing yet. He talked to Shark about the 1A. Kale Thomas got the ride. So according to Zeb. All right. Anybody else? What's your personal and professional thoughts about King of the Hill qualifying format, including fuel qualifying setups? King of the Hill qualifying. The only King of the Hill I know is what they do where they determine they run it instead of a dash. I'm not familiar with a King of the Hill qualifying format. I've never seen that in a sprint car race. So I must be missing that. But as far as the King of the Hill replacing the dash, I guess I know I like it better when they use their times and they don't use like who crosses the line first, because that's dependent on the lane you're in. It could be. So I like that it's based on qualifying lap to line up the front of the A main. In your opinion, which series has the best 2-day format, High Limit or World of Outlaws? High Limit. I like the old format where 4 guys get locked in or they don't have to qualify. I like that. I liked when the Outlaws did that. You know, that's just a throwback to the 80s for me when they used to do that. Now, I hated not seeing Doug Wolfgang run qualifying and all that, but no, I definitely like that you get something for finishing in the top 4 of a prelim. All right. I liked your interview with Donnie Kreitz. I'll tell you what, Donnie Kreitz is one of the best. I've been told that was one of the best deep dives. It was good, and Donnie requested to be on, so I went with it again. So yeah, Donnie's has a lot of insight. He does a good job with obviously his car. I don't think that they're tricking things out and doing some. I think they use stuff that they used years ago. But yeah, he's a good interview. I think he has his finger on the pulse of what's going on in the sport. I liked what he had to say about, officials need to consider other things now, because he's not that Hess doesn't, but I thought 65 when I heard it was long, was too much. So no, Kreitz, good interview. Always like talking to him. After you call Tanner Holmes, call Paul Silva, please. It's a difficult one to get. Paul does not do many interviews. In fact, I can't remember one, especially in a long format show. I cannot remember a Paul Silva interview. So I'll try and get him at the track and see, but that's a tough sell. Please tell me Joe isn't the Chaz. No, Joe is not the Chaz. Not even close. No, he's on the show. They don't throw their voices. Joe's on the Chaz. He's on the Chaz's YouTube show at select times. So no, they're not the same person. Trust me. Will we see Chase in the 23 travel a little more with the success they've had so far? Yeah, I wouldn't doubt if John Stamen rolls the dice and goes out in the road a little bit. I think you could see him at Eldora. Chase Dietz has run Eldora, so I wouldn't be surprised if they made a trip out there. I don't know if Knoxville's in the cards, but yeah, I think the better they do, the more you could see them on the road. Now, are they going to travel like Macri travels? No, they're not going to do that, but they're not running for points, and I could see them at some bigger races. All right. Do you ever get tired of Central PA fans constantly bitching no matter what tracks drivers do? That's everywhere. I know you're not. That's everywhere. I get sick of it sometimes, and then sometimes it's warranted. It's I do think we now live in a society where people just are miserable. So, yeah, I mean, but sometimes it's warranted, and I'm not the one fitting the bill for the fan or the car owner / driver. So they have a little more vested as far as money than I do. So for me to judge that, I just wish it wasn't as harsh sometimes. That's all. And I'm far from PC. Breaking silly season news. I try. Doesn't always work, but I try. I try. Okay. I think did we hit a snag? What do we got going on here? Do we have any more comments? I'll wait a minute. It's a little. I know I was just asked. I was asked by Alex Robinson, when are we getting you to an all-star show? Well, I don't know. I might come to an Ohio Speed Week show. I like Ohio Speed Week. I like, that's one group of races I'd like to get to. The only problem is that I have my daughter through there. What do we got on the screen here? Landon Crawley. Okay, I can't really read it. So we can make it bigger so I can read it. I'm old. I'm 53. It just doesn't, it's not as easy anymore. It's something about Landon Crawley. Landon Crawley, let's see. They'd like to thank somebody for something. I guess they're probably, what are they splitting up? What do we got here? Landon Crawley Racing would like to thank Dutra Motorsports for the opportunity to drive the 17G for the first part of the 2025 season. Yeah, he's been driving this car. I assume at this time, Landon Crawley Racing has made the difficult decision to depart from the team, but is very grateful for the opportunity that Michael and Lance provided him. So Landon Crawley out of the Dutcher 17 GP. There you go. You heard it on the live show. Sorry about the delay. I can't. I got a little screen, so I probably should make that bigger. But yes, Landon Crawley. I thought Don K's comments about cockpit adjusters was interesting. Your thoughts? I'm split on it. I remember talking to Greg Hodnett. He thought that they were good, and he thought it made a difference. Now, again, I think from a monetary standpoint, Kreitz doesn't like them because it's just extra money. Just extra money. I don't know if it makes a big difference. I would like to see something done with the tires. I don't mean another manufacturer, but I've been talking to a lot of people about this, and it's giving different compounds and choices. Hard, medium, soft. So there's comers and goers in the main events. I think that is something that could make the race, maybe something we should focus on. I don't know if that would cost more money, but I'd like to see it investigated at least. Do you think Brent Marks can move up into the top 3 in points on the with high limit? Yeah, sure he can. He can get hot and move up there. I think he's in the top 5 now. I mean, they're not. It's so early in the season. There's 6 races in. They've had 3 of them clipped because of weather. They don't race again until the 30th. So, yeah, anything can happen at this point. I think Brent Marks, I even think he's been a little better than last year at the beginning of the year. And remember, last year, he had a crew member go down, an important crew member go down. His tire guy, he's back. And, cross your fingers he doesn't get hurt. and I think they'll have a better season. Zeb Wise to the Dutcher ride. Maybe. I mean, I'm sure they're calling him. I mean, right now, Zeb Wise should be the first call for everybody. I guess people forget he won double digits 2 years ago. And I know we could say, it's one season. But he won a World of Outlaws event. He won double digits. Yeah, you could say Courtney was hurt, and that's why the All-Star title. And I get all that. He didn't forget how to drive. He should be the first call on everybody's list. Should be the first call. Going away, the first call. What else do we got? If you need a couch to sleep on for some nights during Ohio Speed Week, let me know. I appreciate it, Jacob. Jacob's a good guy. He used to write for me. He does the Ohio Sprint podcast. He does a good job out in Ohio. And congratulations. I think if I'm not mistaken, you're expecting your first child. So congratulations. What do you think about Corey Eliason with the 2KS team? Again, I think they have 2 or 3 races in. It's early in the season. I know they had that unfortunate deal where they got blown off the track, with the Outlaws show that was clipped because of wind. Blake Hahn had the same issue. Guys were saying that was a real problem, and I just think it bit Corey. I don't think they've been overly quick in their starts, but again, it's early in the year. I think like I said, I think he only has 3 starts. So, I like to get at least 10 races in before I start, depending, especially for a national team. And they're kind of like a Midwest traveling team. So I'm going to give a benefit of the doubt till I see more races. All right. What else do we got? That's all we have for as far as questions tonight. Again, if we didn't get to your question, or if it was missed or back and forth or whatever, I apologize for that. Again, sorry for the mix-up as far as the cord going into my computer. We rallied. Didn't have any calls tonight. We'll get back to that next week. So again, I appreciate everybody joining the show, and we'll be back next Tuesday with another edition of SprintCarUnlimited.com Live.